Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS. In this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 30th March 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 6 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says less than 6% of houses under PMAYG. So what is this PMAYG? So this is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. So this article is important regarding GS paper 2 under schemes, policies and programs of government. So from here you can expect prelims questions from this area. Now let us try to see this topic in a great detail. We are going to see why this is in news, that is context, and we are also going to see some important details of this article and also important facts regarding this topic. And now let us see context. So first of all, this article mainly talking about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, in short PMAYG. So if you see context, it mainly says that less than 6% of houses sanctioned under centre's flagship rural housing scheme in 2020 to 21. So because of this COVID-19, so less than 6% of houses, they are sanctioned under this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. So this is data which is given according to Rural Development Ministry. So Rural Development Ministry told to Parliamentary Standing Committee regarding this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So in this statement, here Rural Development Ministry said that because of COVID-19 there is stall in this scheme. So they went for less than 6% of houses sanctioned under this scheme here in year 2020 to 2021. So this is context. And if you see some important details which mainly says that some states like for example Odisha and Jharkhand, so under this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, they provide employment opportunities for migrant workers. So as we know, this migrant people, because of abrupt imposition of this national-wide lockdown, so many people who are working in nearby cities or another states, so they started to migrate to their villages or home villages. So because of these people who are coming to their villages, that is migrant workers, so under this scheme, so governments of Odisha and as well as Jharkhand, they provide employment opportunities for this migrant people, who returned back to their homes. And if you see under this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, it has only completed 55% of construction target, and money has been sanctioned under this scheme here is about provided for 85% of beneficiaries. So these are some important details which are highlighted in this article. And now let us try to see some facts regarding this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. So it is mainly implemented by which ministry? This is very important for prelims. That is Ministry of Rural Development. So if you see, this is not a new scheme. Already there was one scheme, that is erstwhile rural housing scheme. Name of that scheme is Indira Awas Yojana, that is IAY, Indira Awas Yojana. So this scheme restructured into Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So what is important aim of this scheme? So first and foremost here is to provide Pakka houses with all basic amenities to houseless householders, and those households living in Kacha, they will be depleted house, Kacha house and as well as dilapidated by 2022. That means we need to provide Pakka houses with basic amenities like bathrooms, water availability, etc. So mainly to houseless householders. So this is one important aim of this scheme. So target. So what is target? Here government came with target of construction of about 2.95 crore houses. So those houses, they should contain basic amenities. For example, bathroom, toilets, and as well as we can say proper drinking water facility, etc. by 2022. So what is funding or cost sharing between center and state? So as we know, this scheme, it is centrally sponsored scheme. So whenever we are talking about the centrally sponsored scheme, so funding will be divided between center and state, right? So in this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, so in plains sharing will be 60:40, and in hilly or mountainous states, for example Himalayas and as well as northeastern states, here sharing will be 90:10%. So this is about sharing of this scheme. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says UK variant not more contagious study. So one important study recently done, it mainly says that UK's variant is not more contagious. So again this article will be important regarding COVID-19 point of view. Okay. So why we are coming up with different variants? So even in India we saw double mutant virus also seen here, right? So why these mutations are happening? Mutations means what? Whenever there is alteration sequence of genes that is happening in virus, that is mainly causing these mutations. Mutations are done by virus mainly to come out, mainly to decrease effect of vaccines or effect of medicines that are acting against this virus. Okay. So this is about some brief background. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under science and technology, and we can also see dimension regarding health which comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So this article mainly focusing on UK variant, right? So if you see context, it mainly says that UK variant name is B117. Okay, B117 of coronavirus. It did not appear to be more transmissible than compared to that of variant of virus that is most commonly seen in India. So whatever coronavirus variant that is seen in India, which is more transmissible than compared to that of this UK variant. So this is according to study which done by National Institute of Virology located at Pune. So now let us see some details of this study. So this study based on some Syrian hamsters. So these Syrian hamsters, they are commonly used mainly in laboratory, and we can do experiments on that animal. Okay. So these Syrian hamsters, they are mainly divided into two groups. Okay, so after this, one group is given with this variant of this coronavirus, that is B117, and another group with SARS coronavirus 2 mutation called as D614G. It is commonly seen in India, because in India we have registered about 771 cases, okay, of three variants. They include Brazilian variant, UK variant, and South African variant. So out of this 771 cases, about 736 cases, they are belonging to this UK variant itself. So because of this, we started study on this UK variant, whether we have any link with that UK variant and increase in number of cases, because we are experiencing second wave of this coronavirus now. So now we need to know about if there is any relationship between this UK variant and this second wave of corona. So because of this recently study conducted by National Institute of Virology located at Pune. So in this context, it mainly demonstrated that comparable transmission efficiency of both UK and D614G variants of this coronavirus. Okay. So in this context, they mainly said that there is decreased transmissibility of this UK variant than compared to that of this D614G. Okay. And now let us see some facts regarding what is this UK variant. So this UK variant, we can see mutation. So because of that, we can see mutation. So the name which is given to this UK variant include N501Y P681H mutation. Okay. So in this UK variant, virus with mutations within receptor binding domain. So in this UK variant, so we can see some variation or mutation or gene alteration in this receptor binding domain. Okay. So in this way it will affect, okay, it will affect work of vaccines. So it will mainly evade antibodies against it. Okay. So this is about some facts regarding this UK variant. And now let us see next article. So before that, I want to give you today's mains question. Discuss the concerns associated with mutations of COVID-19. So your keyword here is discuss, and you have to write what are concerns regarding these mutations. So in this way you have to cover both UK variant, South Africa variant and Brazilian variant also, and even you can add a note on double variant of India. Okay. So now let us try to understand next article. Title says WHO report says animals are likely source of COVID-19. So this article mainly talking about source of COVID-19. So this is joint WHO and China study. Okay. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 and also international organization, that is WHO. So you can expect some prelims based questions from WHO also. So I want to give you a small homework. Please refer some facts regarding this WHO. So this is your work. I am not going to spoon feed everything to you because spoon feeding will not work for UPSC. Okay. And now let us try to see this article in a great detail. So now let us see context first. Here a joint WHO-China study on origin of COVID-19. So this joint study said that transmission of virus from bats to humans through another animals, it is most likely scenario that it is a lab leak. So what this article mainly saying that, so whenever we are having the transmission of this coronavirus from animals to humans, right? So this virus used to present in bats, but this virus that started entering into humans, and finally that led into pandemic, right? So this is situation all we know. So many of you also know that this virus that born in Wuhan city of China. So because of this, recently WHO and China, they studied about origin of this coronavirus and they came up with this draft of this report. So in this draft it mainly said that this transmission of this coronavirus to humans that mainly occurred through animals, okay, but it is not a lab leak, okay. So this is context. And now let us see what is significance. So whenever we are having this type of reports, it will be very helpful for scientists to deal with this pandemic and also to prevent future pandemics also. And next one is, this report also evaluated spread from bats to human as likely, because the spread from bats to human, they are likely because of whenever they are going for packaging of meat, okay, material that is obtained from these animals, whenever we are going for cold chain food products. So in this way there might be chances of infection or transmission of this virus from animals to humans, okay. So this is about this report. And scientists also found similar type of virus that is also seen in pangolins, right? So we discussed about this pangolins number of times in our Hindu analysis, right? And please do revision about this pangolins also. And now let us see next article. Title says US not yet ready to lift trade tariffs on China. So as we know, since 2018 onwards, there is trade war that is happening between China and USA. So if you are talking about China, whenever USA which is increasing tariffs, China also reiterating with increasing tariffs on USA goods here. So because of this, we saw there are increased tensions between USA and China regarding this trade. Now this article mainly says that now though new administration that came into picture in USA, they are not yet ready to lift this trade tariffs on China. So this is about this article, and this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy. So now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that President Joe Biden, new trade negotiator, he said that US it is not yet ready to lift tariffs on Chinese imports, but they want to come up with talks with Beijing. So this is context here. And now let us try to understand background of this trade war between USA and China. So China and USA, they have been engaged in a trade war through increasing tariffs and also other measures since 2018. Since 2018, there is increase on tariffs, that is import duty, so and so on goods, and also they are coming up with other measures, mainly that is causing some trade war like situation between USA and China. So in this context, China also responded mainly through this tit for tat tariffs. So whenever US is increasing tariff, in same context China also started increasing in tariffs. So they came up with the tit for tat tariffs on US goods, that is China. So why trade war here? So if you are talking about this trade war, it is one of important subset of trade protectionism. So under this trade protectionism, it is mainly initiated, that is whenever we are talking about this trade war, so it is mainly initiated when any nation which imposes tariffs or quotas or import duties, okay, on foreign countries here. So in the same way, on which country we are imposing this all this, in second country will also start imposing same on another country. So this type of condition that leads to, okay, that leads to trade war. And if you see trade protectionism, which can be done mainly through four types. So first one is we can go for enactment of tariffs. So whenever we are increasing import duty on products which are coming up from other countries, then what happens, the price of that good will be increased, so that in domestic market that will be not competitive. So in this way we are protecting our domestic industries. And second way here is government subsidies to local industries. So if we have local industries, whenever government which is providing some subsidies to this industry here, so it will provide large number of units with low cost. So because of this, whatever goods which we are importing from other country, that will be of higher price than compared to that of indigenous industry. So because of this, there will be increase in demand for local product. So it will leads to trade protectionism. And next one is we can impose quotas. That means if you are taking about 100 pieces of pens from country A, but if you want to protect your country's pen industry, they are producing 100 units of pen. So government may say that you can import only 50 pens from other country, not more than this 50. So this type of restriction is called as impose quotas. So quotas can also be imposed to protect domestic industries. And next one is lower its currency value. For example, if you see for $1 is equal to 100 rupees now, okay, and now $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Then what happened here? So because of devaluation of your currency, okay, that means whenever you are going for devaluation, it can increase your exports. Exports become very, very cheaper, okay. Earlier, to buy 2 frocks, I used to pay, okay, $10 for you. But now, if I want to buy 2 frocks, I have to pay just $5. So because of this, what happened? Exports of this country will be get cheaper. So because of this, that will lead to increase in exports. So in this way, we will also save our domestic industries. So these are 4 methods of saving of our domestic industries, that is trade protectionism. And now let us see what will be advantages. So first one is we are protecting our domestic industries and we are protecting our economy. And next one is temporarily it can create some job opportunities. And next one is domestic companies, they are to go for hire local people. So these are some important advantages whenever we are going for this trade protectionism. And if you see next one, that is disadvantages. First one is it will weaken our industry. So whenever we are weak, that means whenever there is no competition, whenever international goods are not coming into our market, they will no competition in our market. So because of this, we need not to innovate or we need not to go for new methods of technology. So because of this, finally quality of goods will be decreased and also cost will be increased. So this is first disadvantage. And next one is slow down the economic growth, okay, because of weaker consumer demand. So for example, if you see there are 10 products of India, there are 10 products of USA is present. But most of people, they are opting for USA products. That means if there is no US products that are present in market, the people who do not want to take these Indian products, then what happens? There will be decrease in demand of these goods in our market. Because of this, it will affect domestic people who are selling those products. And next one is it will also hamper global economy here. Because if you are talking about countries they will have resources, but they have to depend on other countries for something, okay. So because of this, there is proper linkage between any country with another country, right? So because of this, whenever we are going for trade protectionism and we are building a block here between these two countries, then what happens? It hampers global economy. And next one is increasing fragmented global trading framework. So whenever we are going for this trade protectionism and we are protecting our trade, our country's trade, then it will also break chain with other countries, so that will lead to fragmentation of global economy. Okay, so these are some important disadvantages. And now if you see here, let us see next article. So title says polarization in times of dispossession. So this article mainly talking about polarization, especially this focusing on UNHRC. So we already discussed about this UNHRC many times in our Hindu analysis, right? So already we discussed about background of this also. So recently UNHRC came up with resolution against Sri Lanka, right? So in this Sri Lanka, what happened here? There is war crime that is increased. So there are majority people and minority people are present. So majority are Sinhalese group and minority includes a Muslim minority and as well as some Tamil minority. So this Sinhalese mainly show violence against this minority people. So as we know, between the Sinhalese people and LTTE also there is some warlike situation that is happening in Sri Lanka. So because of this, what happened, there is human rights abuse that is seen in Sri Lanka. So because of this, UNHRC recently came up with resolution that whether we need to go for whether we need to go for investigation regarding this human rights abuse in Sri Lanka or not. So as we know, UNHRC mainly contains 47 members. And in this voting here, India abstained here. Not only India, 14 other countries also abstained from voting. So whenever India it is going for yes, then it will lead to some bad relationship between Sri Lanka and India. So whenever India says yes, we need to go for investigation, then it will also affect, right? And if we say no, then we say that we are not promoting democracy. So in this way, better and balanced decision which is taken by India is abstaining here. So regarding this article which is mainly focusing. So if you're talking about UNHRC here, UNHRC mainly passed another resolution that is regarding investigation regarding wartime accountability in Sri Lanka. So in this voting, India mainly abstained here. So it took a balanced approach. So out of 47 countries of United Nations Human Rights Council, 22 countries they voted in favor, yes, we need investigation, and about 11 countries they said against. So in this against, China is also part of that, and 14 countries they abstained from voting. And if you see some data regarding this article, it mainly says that in 2015 a resolution was co-sponsored by Sri Lanka and anonymously adopted with overwhelming international support. Okay, so in 2019 Sri Lanka came up with this resolution and it has some international effort support here. So what happened in recently, Rajapaksa government, he withdrawn from this resolution and he mainly did not want any investigation in Sri Lanka regarding this war crime. So it mainly shows unilateral arrogance of Sri Lanka. So not only this, if you see, there is increasing polarization also seen across world. We saw Brexit, we saw rise of Donald Trump, and we saw there is new government that came into picture in USA here. So if you're talking about especially Sri Lanka, so there is increased presence of China that is seen here. And we can say some geopolitical rivalries, they exacerbate external relations. And we can say here Tamilian and as well as Muslim minorities who are present in Sri Lanka, they are facing some human rights deterioration, human rights abuse, etc. here. And even in Sri Lanka recently in 2019 there was one attack, that is Eastern terror attack by Islamic radical group, and because of COVID-19 it affected a large number of people who are present in Sri Lanka. So if you're talking about especially economy of Sri Lanka, it is also devastating. So it is present in devastating economic crisis. So what might be reason? So reasons might be here consequences of liberalizing trade and also capital flows over 4 decades. And there is also increased dependence on imports, and as well as it also having some looming external debt payment also. And we also see there is inadequate foreign earnings also seen. So because of all these reasons, there is economic depression that is seen in Sri Lanka. So if you're talking about India, India mainly having some concerns with Sri Lanka. First one is there is increase in presence here, and recently there is 3-party agreement that signed between India, Japan and Sri Lanka, that mainly withdrawn by Sri Lanka regarding this east container terminal of Colombo port, right? We already discussed about many times regarding this east container terminal of Colombo port. And if you're talking about history between India and Sri Lanka, so we have Tamilian issue and we have fishermen issue here. Okay, but if you're talking about this resolution of United Nations HRC, India mainly abstain here. So if you're talking about this resolution, which is mainly highlighting some problems like ongoing human rights abuses, protest by indebted women and disgruntled farmers, destructive environment policies, and as well as minorities. So all these important issues mainly highlighted in this resolution, but India abstained from that resolution. Okay. So these things which are mainly this resolution mainly want to end this dangerous trajectory of polarization and as well as disposition in Sri Lanka here. So whenever we are talking about the issues which are present between India and Sri Lanka, so we need to have to come up with proper resolution. We need to come up with the Constitutional Amendment Act to deal with this Tamilian issue, and we need full implementation of this Constitutional Amendment Act. So this is gist of this article. I hope it is clear. And now let us see next article. So before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. We came up with this current affairs package plus mains answer writing practice. So students who are preparing for UPSC, if you want to give your attempt in 2022, this is right time to join this current affairs package plus mains answer writing practice. Because before this 2022, you need to cover at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. So if you join this course, you can have access to this current affairs from January 2021 onwards. So you can cover this current affairs in a comprehensive manner, and we are covering 5 different sources like Indian Express, The Hindu, PIB, All India Radio, okay, and also Down to Earth. And next one is this course will be very useful because we also conducting prelims test on every Sunday along with video solutions. And we are also focusing on mains answer writing practice and how to improve your answer writing skills. Okay, so in this way, please try to join this course for sure. Don't take this course as a choice. So details of this course are given in description box. So please visit once without any fail. So if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me on this number 8074765513. Okay, don't forget about this. And now let us see next article. Title says diversity and inclusivity. So this article can be used whenever you are writing mains answer regarding inclusivity and as well as providing equity, etc. And in interview also you can use this article. Okay, and now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So as you know, in India we have diverse population. We have people of different castes, different religions, etc. Right? So because of some social structures that are present in our society, so these social structures, they are preventing thousands of individuals mainly from realizing their potential. So because of this, government came up with one remedy to this social structures. It started providing some provisions of reservation quotas in education, in government jobs, etc. Right? So in this way, it also enhances some equity and as well as diversity. So in this context, we need to talk about IIM Bangalore. So it came with one policy, especially regarding students with disability. Okay. So IIM Bangalore mainly started admitting students with disabilities even before we had one important act, that is Person with Disabilities Equal Opportunity Protection of Rights Full Participation Act of 1995. So this act mainly talks about students with disabilities. And next important homework here is please do some research regarding what is this act. Okay. And in 2009, here it made further important decision here regarding this students with disabilities, and it came up with the dedicated Office of Disability Services that will act as nodal support point for students with disability. So in this way, effort also taken to study some individual needs of each student. So if you are talking about students with disabilities or different categories in that, students with disability in walking, disability in hearing, disability in vision, dumb and deaf, etc. Right? So because of this different disabled students, they have some different requirements. So because of this nodal agency which mainly support to study about individual needs of each students. Okay, and finally they will provide some required accommodations proactively regarding that. For example, if you're talking about students who is mainly facing with severe visual impairment, then whenever we are conducting some paper-based examination on graphs here, so it will be unfair evaluation about that student, okay. So in this way, finally they came up with some new evaluation process which is entirely different from this examination based on paper. So in this way, IIMB Bangalore efforts, they have been recognized recently by NCPEDP, okay, that is Emphasis Universal Design Award, that will mainly promote accessibility and as well as universal design of this IIM Bangalore, okay. And also for ensuring life of equality and as well as dignity of students with disabilities, IIMB also committed to all forms of diversity and inclusivity. And if you're talking about faculty also, so regarding these higher education institutions, we studied one article that faculty is very low. So seats which are reserved for this SC and ST category and as well as OBC category, they are not filled by these higher education institutions, right? But if you're talking about this IIMB here, it also went for recruiting faculty, okay. And whenever it is recruiting faculty here, it is balancing two important acts. First one is Central Education Institution Reservation in Teachers Cadre Act of 2019, and also second act here is India Institute of Management Act of 2017. And recently this IIM Bangalore also hired 4 excellent faculty from categories of SC and ST here. So in this way, IIMs, they continues to strive for a multidimensional and integrated approach to diversity and inclusion. Okay, so this is about gist of this article. And there is also one editorial which appeared in page number 6, like what are reasons for COVID-19 spread in Mumbai. So if you want to read, you can read, but you cannot expect that type of questions here, but it is very informative. So if you want to gain some information regarding this COVID-19 spread, you can read that article, that is your wish. So these are some important articles that appeared in today's Hindu. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.